Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and if you've been listening this is great news. If you're hearing this message, you probably heard all the other message about Sleep With Me Plus, but this one's different because we're having a sale right now until December 31st. You could save 20% off your first 3 months and just use that same link, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, or if you want to give or get the gift of Sleep With Me Plus, someone in your life says, what's a perfect gift for you? Well, I'll really miss Sleep With Me if it's gone. I listen all the time. I'd love to check out the ad-free episodes, story-only episodes. They can gift you 3 months, 6 months, 12 months of Sleep With Me Plus at any level for 20% off. So they could buy you a year, or, hey, you could buy yourself a year of Sleep With Me Plus and get 20% off. And you could do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/gift. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/gift. Get the gift, give the gift, or just sign up and support the show that puts you to sleep. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks, everybody.
This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's here. I've got on ankle socks. I don't know why I decided to point that out. I said, wait a second, I have ankle socks. Are those what they're called? They're above my ankles, though. I also have shorts on. I don't know what made me wear my socks. Maybe the fact that they're wool running socks and I didn't wear them running. But they say these socks are darn tough. Some socks are made of wool and they're smart, and these ones are made of wool and they're darn tough. But you might say, what in the SOCKS are you talking? You say, I put a U in there. And I'd say, great, because I'm here for you, to put you to sleep. That's what this is, Sleep With Me, the podcast to put you to sleep. But really, I just keep you company while you fall asleep. I'm here to be your friend in the deep, dark night, because you deserve a bedtime. You deserve a friend that's going to keep you company while you fall asleep. I'm just here to take your mind off of stuff and talk to you in the most boring way possible, to be your friend in the deep, dark night, because I've been there. Hundreds of thousands of other people have been there, too, that are listening right now. And we know it's not easy. That's why I make the show. And I hope it works for you. It does take a few tries to get used to, so if you're new, give it a few tries, see how it goes. It's just a friendly, strange podcast. This episode, I think, will be particular. You know, I'm always strange, but this one's even stranger. What else we got? Structure of the show. So we've got a support for the show coming up. That's how it comes out, Free Choice Week. Then a long, meandering intro. Do not miss out on it. It's meant to ease you into bedtime and keep you company. Then after that, we'll have a bedtime story. It'll be interesting. So I don't know the difference between machine learning and AI. I'm not kidding. But once upon a time, we had this machine learning thing. We paid a company that had some sort of machine that could learn, and it was trying to make machine transcripts. Works out way better with our real-world transcriptionist, Leah. But this is when our budget was way, way tighter. So we're going to have a guest come on from the Cusack family and read through this automated transcript. And their initials just happen to be AI. So that's handy. Though, I guess they're something. I didn't ask. I said, wouldn't your AIC if you're a Cusack? But they said their initials are AI. Maybe they didn't say all their. You say what in the initially? I disliked you. Now I'm not so sure. I said, great. So glad you're here. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that's here to keep you company and put you to sleep. And these are the ways we're able to do it for you for free twice a week. Hello, everybody. This is AI, and welcome to the AI Sleep Podcast. I'm Albert Irvington. I'm actually AIC, Albert Irvington Cusack. If you're a listener of this, depending on where you're listening to the show, and I'm participating in this AI Sleep Challenge. But luckily, I have, we're friends with Scooter, who makes sleep with me. And Scooter has given, the Cusack family most of the Cusack family, Joan and John, they haven't been involved in Sleep With Me, but a lot of other people have. And we're so happy to be able to work with Scooter with some things he's been holding on to for just this occasion. Now, I'm AI. That's what you could call me, AI, your friend AI. Now, maybe other AI will be, I don't know how they're going to participate in this thing. And this is a thing that Scooter's been undertaking with Yornery Machine Solutions or something. Yornery Sleep Solutions? No, it's Machine Solutions, my sister's saying. That's my sister, Lorraine Cusack. She's more popular. I've never been on the podcast before. I'm AI, by the way. She said start acting like it. So I'm reading from a machine transcript, which I guess would be some sort of, or I don't know if that's artificial intelligence or not. My intelligence is artificial. So I'm going to read through a machine transcript back from Scooter's episode 392, Erie Canal Museum, and see how it goes. But pretty sure you get a fair go on your show. You got to go. Sir Leicester, sneakers, and so much more. Love, life, laughter, Impalas. Any more but joy. Join two brothers. Oh, this is a promo for a sleep podcast. My brother's sneaker. So we're even getting in, and I do have permission to paraphrase. My sisters told me. Okay, yeah. The Scooter hopefully already did the intro to his own podcast. But friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, time for the podcaster, who puts the amateur in Schaefer sleep. With me, the podcast to put sleep in your way. You know I love it. I love it. I don't even know how to seek. Quixotic. I love capital Q. Quest is Sisyphean. Is that a Quest love album he's referring to? You know that one of my hobbies is Sisyphean quests, and all I know is I love Quixotic, Sister Sophie, and Hookum. And I can see if this is in so easily, but that's the other word. But I love Sisyphean style quests, and we tried to get Trader Joe's. How's it going? Oh, this was another promo. Scooter was trying to get Trader Joe's on the podcast, or Cat Stevens on WTF podcast. You listen to Father and Son, and he said, I wonder if Mark Maron's ever talked to Cat Stevens. I don't know what year this was made, this episode, 392. That Stray Cat Stevens on, don't you? So you heard, if you were on, you wouldn't want to hear it. Hear him and Mark. I just love to hear those talks. So if you know Cat Stevens, I guess this still goes for things, let him know. So that's what it is. Chop it up. Hear them chop it up. But what if, this is interesting, this machine, probe it up, probe it up, bro. But what if Mark and Yusuf, but it's spelled capital U-S, capital S, capital E, capital F. Okay, so Boulder just rolled back down the Old Hill sister office. He went to Boulder School to spray water. Okay, then Scooters asks his listeners if they think an episode of the Sleep With Me podcast is worth 10 cents to them, or 25 cents. An episode, depending on how many episodes they listen to. I wonder if he has tried that again. Patreon, welcome to Time for Sleep With Me, the podcast, the shoe you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. Do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place this time it's during a way over here in an airport where you could set aside whatever's keeping you up at night, or whether it's travel, noises, background, physical sensations, overthinking, emotional feelings that are cropping up, whatever it is you're trying to take your mind off, and use longy, soothing tones. I mean, use of soothing tones, it meanders. Overscriptive, turn the mic over, and I'm trying to travel. I'm trying to collect some audio, make the best use of my time. It is also like that dual distraction area dialogue. Double the dual distraction area dial. I can't sleep with me tonight because this will help me with the time of day go by for me. To help the time go by for you gives me something to do. I guess it gets to say, what is your first couple terms here? Let me give you just a little bit of the dose of, the complications that come from overthinking. It could be a daytime head go out of town here. I go out of town at the last minute, and I said, well, jeepers, let's make the best unexpected situation. So I had a lot of editing to catch up with and get her actual podcast, Game of Drones and Sea Strange, and edit the intros out of those and convert the files in these societies. I had to go and get it on headwork. So loaded up my hard drive and my secondary backup hard drive. When I had them a bunch of files nicely organized, and then I got ready for my flight, I had it all laid out. This seems like yesterday. That's going to be handy here. And, I'd really get a lot of work done. This is feeling good. And I said, hey, well, easy. Hey, Scoots, how much would it? Those hard drives don't want to bang around in your bag. You get a ticket and I see how you are. This is the inner cheerleader again. Inner electronics protector. I see you're great. So what we get those old headphones bags somewhere tucked into one of those shoes, those cabinets. But you're on my team. It's a script. Hit phone bank hard drives in there. Let's get this cord and send it, coiled up. So boy, this is how people do it. Then zipped up that bag and they said to me, I said, what time is this good stuff here? We're getting it. We're going to go in place on this item and add my bag, and there's my stuff here, and I insert a sentence or page in, and that's all I can remember. And then, of course, for travel the most, so you got your ID, and do you have your phone? Do you have a way to charge your phone? I think that's it usually. And I said, what gives my back seat everything essential in my bag, right? And then I want to do some recording, so I set my microphone in my bag in my recording recorder. The old recording, my bag backup batteries weren't charged, by the way. I found that out, and they said, hey, I said, okay, we got those, and we got those, check. I didn't check my bag. This was a mental checklist. Then, of course, you go to get to the airport to get on your flight. And I get down, let's get down to business, and then say, okay, maybe I put the hard drives on the bottom, and then I say, oh no, I put them in that headphones bag, and I put them on the abdomen because they were still sitting on the ottoman. But because I'm awake, I'll just try to record a little bit. It needs these little layovers, or Amy, because it's daytime, and maybe because it said, okay, it'll be okay. It's going to all be okay with bedtime. Those thoughts can kind of get into your head, and you're knowing you're going to sleep, and you're laying your head down. You're trying to get some rest, and then I'll send you a suitable boy. I can't believe y'all where do you do or say you're. Well, this machine must have been thinking about the next day. Like, you're going to, I got to get that hard drive. I got to make sure it's ready. And I was there, and you said, well, really, the best way not to forget and said, well, really, the best way is not to forget. The best way is to prepare for travel and to stay calm and all those things, to be rested, But those first, I don't know what's it to be concerned. We need everything covered. How are we going to make sure we don't forget everything if we go through all this? Prepare. Boy, maybe we should prepare everything. We'll double prepare. It triple prepares. And you say, what did you learn? And then the other programs that we weren't sure, And then you try to get up to sleep, and then you are like, what time do I have to get up for the flight? And why didn't I book, Don? Why can't sleep on planes when I'm old scoots now? That is how my brain works. I don't know if you could relate to that, but you go through something similar or totally different. But as soon as my head hits the pillow, it gets like that, and it can give me more intense, and sometimes it's not intense at all. And seeing as it's my area of expertise, I can just come in here and see how this Pegasus works. And an alternative to listening to those parts of your brain is that I can come in and distract you from the Solomonese, this intro. And some people fall asleep during the intro. Some people don't, but there are these soothing tones, ideally. Remember, they go nice in language, but I try to use my language, and language take my time getting there. And in sit to listen, and all the voice in your head, and you could think about, listen to me. But obviously, this isn't going to be riveting stuff. I think there was a soap opera once set in an airport, or maybe there should be, or maybe there was a miniseries or something like that. And this is not even, it's like so much more of a soap opera, more soap flakes. And you say they don't even make soap flakes anymore. Isn't it more of a soap grainy, where you go back to the soap globes, use globules. Globules tend to stick together. But they have these little things you have to power to. As you get your powder, you got. So there's another strategy I use called getting distracted or going off topic. But the whole time you can listen to me. I'm going to be here maybe, sending my voice across the deep, dark night. My intention to carry you across the threshold from wake to sleep. That's a safe place I'm trying to carve out. And then another layer of the safe place is you only need to kind of listen to me. You don't have to totally listen to me. You don't have to give me all your attention. And you don't care if you give me your whole attention. You just need to give me some of your attention. Now, if you can't fall asleep, I'll be here the whole time. Or my neighbor will be, Ray will be kind of distracting you and me. And therefore, kind of like your companion in the deep, dark night, your friend. I'll be there, and I'll be there almost like I'm, within a comfortable distance of your bedside, telling you a bedtime story just to distract you from your thoughts. So there's no pressure to listen. There's no pressure to your understanding, which is it. I don't even do it. I don't even attempt that. Maybe it'll make its way by tosa some rehos. Don't know what those words really mean. But it'll drift in where you say, I'll bring my own meaning, right? If you can't sleep, I'll be here kind of entertain you, try to make a funny out to be distracting myself. Maybe there's something that I'm sitting nose, not bad, looking out the window. There's some planes taking off and there's planes landing. There's people walking a little. And, this intro takes a little bit longer because they pause it when there's those beeping carts go by and when really a lot of people go by. And actually, it was like to carve out my own auditory safe place here because I think she's the only place they could find that was a little bit less busy and they didn't have CNN ballasting. So that's what I do. Here's your first times. Usually don't. Always record on vacation. It can be fun when I do, and it gets me a school. And I said, well, you've been scoots and a little distraction sometimes. So I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you stopping by. And I really hope I can help you fall asleep. So thanks again for stopping by. Okay, let's get on with the traveling show. Hey, what do you use for transit and trains traveling? Shows always traveling. Because it's distributed in any way, Baby Joe cashes and buys shoes for all his skills. Keep it going. I'm outside the Erie Canal Museum in Syracuse, New York, and I'm looking at a mural of the old Erie Canal. There's 3 horses and a man, a barge. Across the river or canal is a red barn or warehouse labeled Flour and Feed Mills. A man is wearing a white shirt with a black and brown suspenders, a black belt and black and brown, black pants. His mouth is open as if he's calling to the horses. Not far behind him is a black dog with blue eyes in a large blue building, Erie Canal Supply and General Store. Front are barrel and boxes, tin roof, 6 windows, one of those large barn-style windows. And then a long barge, or at least a mural-wise, is barge long, and there's a horse in front. Looking out, I don't know if they're transporting horses. There's a man, and it looks like there's 2 wheelhouses there. I don't know much about barge artistry. That's why I'm here at the Erie Canal Museum. There's a man in a blue suit, looks official, looking out of one little hut or on the barge, We will all house. With a stake in a car at a wheelhouse, because the back end of the barge is an old man in the sea looking old man in the canal through, and he's at the wheel. The barge, as we say, sky's blue. Clouds across the barge after a general store and a yellow building is beautiful. Trees lining the bank of the canal, the Erie Canal. And as we get to the end of the barge, we see Loch Elos SK Canal-like, red barn, a steeple of a church time. It looks to be 11 a.m. because the sun's out. It could be 11 p.m., but that would be confusing. And there's maybe even a large log cabin there with an A. Possibly a blue spruce, but I don't know much about trees either. But it looks like there's an A. Decent amount of blue spruce type trees. This beautiful Neros by Kelly Cruz's Cury. Maybe I'll learn about this today. Good luck, swampy area. On the banks, swampy areas, red lily-looking flowers. There's another mural here on the back of a brick building. So what do you call it? A cutaway? So it's like we're looking into the building. It's 2 stories. Presumably, it's the general store. Actually, there's a sign. I'll read it. And the second floor looks to be stored. Just man looking out the window with a view, with some bags in an A. Cart to move the bags. There's a 3rd floor. Some couple of people going up the stairs of the 3rd floor. There's a closet. It looks like under the stairs. There's 2 men using a block and tackle to move heavy bags. On the 1st floor, looks like a mural was made by Corky Goss. Geo says in 1989, a moment on the Erie Canal. A man filling the feed bag. Looks to be some sort of telegraph, maybe. A few barrels. Cobblestone street out the window. A man in overalls. Hash cash. Big gash. A red handkerchief in his pocket. He's at the, I guess, like a bar, but it's where the register is the counter. I think they call those things the general store. And there's a woman with her back to us in a green dress, red hair, and a ponytail. I don't know what they called them in those days, but she seems to be filling in an order for them. We can see where hands are there below the counter, but there's bags and pots and pans and rolling pins. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7 rolling pins, and a black cat scratching itself on a barrel. There's a chair next to a wood stove, a heater, and a boy is a boy eating an apple, looking back at the woman at the counter, filling the order. It's a loud vehicle driving by. And then there's an open door to the store and a dock and a beautiful blue water, an imaginary Erie Canal, long gone. Because what I see is Erie Canal Street or Erie Street or Erie Boulevard, East Water Street, I think. I'm looking at Erie Boulevard East, but here's a little bit from the east side or the mural double-enders, buildings constructed on the banks. Because the canal had two distinct sides. One face the canal, one the street, just to paraphrase it. And the street sides had facades to attract pedestrians, encourage carriages. The canal sides were simpler, with an area for loading and unloading cargo and goods. Ground floor was usually retail. Exception was the way like building its canal side was ornate to attract passing customers and canal boats. A two-story mural. Of this 2 to 3 mural was painted in 1989. And all these outdoor signs were made possible with gifts from Niagara Mohawk Power, which my Aunt Helen worked for. Money services from McDonald Foundation and EUBA of the New York State. And right here, there's a spot of the way, like the building, which was built in 1950 to weigh canals, and the judge. Oh, this is the junction of that area in the Oswego canals. We Like building was originally opened like a boathouse, a channel in front of you. So we have a channel here. A recreation would guide the boat into the whaleback chamber. They have locked the gates at either end, and the water be drained through an underground tunnel. The boat would settle into a wooden cradle and get weighed. And each boat had an empty registered weight when it was empty. And then on the way did find some maps to find out the weight of the cargo. The Syracuse Way, like building, is the only structure of its kind in the world. So sit on the National Register of Historical Places. And now it's the home of the Erie Canal Museum since 1962, and I'm looking at the front of the Waylike building. Maybe Waylock building, I think. Now enclosed in glass, I see a recreation of a barge in the locks. And a few other things, but do some walking outside. I'm not sure if I get permission to record the episode inside, but it will be a mellow trip. Through Syracuse, New York, and an afternoon in Syracuse, New York. I'm here in the Erie Canal Museum in a newer section of the... Get the engineering and the building of the canal over time. You should really come here and check it out. It's a town that was built, the Erie Canal was considered an amazing engineering feat. At 363 miles longer than any other canal in the world. 83 likes it engineer and 18 stone aqueducts. Even on point, it was called the Stitch. I'm sure we will find out more. But I'm going to Syracuse, and Syracuse, you're nearby in this beautiful, beautiful museum. There's so much more. I don't even know where to start. Right now, I'm looking at some limestone from 1825, hand to. You know, what's beautiful to you, and it's from the Lower Walk Crescent Aqueduct. You know that the Erie Canal was designed and built and financed by people in New York looking at what looks to be a wood. Could you just see the last Seneca River Aqueduct was a sturdy one-stone arches Seneca River Aqueduct. It was also known as the Richmond Aqueduct. It was the second largest canal system when it was completed in 1859. You can hear the sounds of the museum by me. And with opening a barge canal, many of the guests, I missed the part about the tow canal. There's a change in here from being towed by horses to being towed by tugboats, larger, heavier barges. Now, here's a little bit of it from 1918 to 59. It's 40 years operation, a barge canal teemed with traffic. Boats were filled with, well, cargo, other beautiful factoid. Here, commerce. And that was Erie Canal near its peak in 1800. 6 million tons of freight. So successful. Well, here's a conundrum. So successful, and New York stopped collecting Can It Help Souls in 1883. And here's the place. Assuming where someone made an assumption out of you and me, assuming the use, it would continue to grow. Canal supporters sought to enlarge the big ditch once again and to compete with the growing use of railroads. Amidst considerable controversy with the backing of then-Governor Theodore Roosevelt, built a bill to build, and it's hard to say. It was now called the Burj Canal, and I asked, and 15 years later, the canal system reached 800 miles of waterways, 40 dams, 309 bridges, and 57 locks. Over its success was short-lived as railroads and highways assumed a greater role in freight. You could see here Maps Sold or Maps New York, where they mapped the canal and the cities that travel through Buffalo, Tonawanda, Lockport, Dina Albee, and Rochester, Genesee Falls. We could meet up with Genesee Valley and Canal Leons at some point with me. He was a kid you couldn't say you get in Seneca Canal, which would go down to Seneca Lake, and you go to Lake. It would have had the through lines of all the winds, Vile, Canal, Seneca River, Topaz. Yes, Canal into the Great Lake, if we can, Ontario, the Oneida Lake, all through Syracuse, New York, off to Rome, meet up with the River Canal through Utica. So the Shango Canal through Herkimer and Little Falls, Thanda, and Amsterdam, Schenectady, Troy, in Albany, where we meet up with the Hudson River, or had no person in the Champlain River, all the way to Lake Champlain. Wow, what an amazing thing to know. There are lots of places it's gone now with all these aqueducts, and this is history. I've never been to this museum. It's a little humbling. I can now do these wonderful things. You hear fireworks, presumably to celebrate the opening of the canal, keeping it following the engineer's plan. Now we're learning on the job, and basic physics told them they now had to have a certain amount of slope for the water to fall. Basic physics told them the canal had to have a certain amount of slope for the water to flow. That's hydraulic capacity. And many personal engineers designing a slope of the canal to be 1 inch per mile to ensure an adequate flow of water. And there's a little oil and water thing to demonstrate hydraulic capacity. This is really interesting. To keep a canal full of water requires a steady source of water. So to maintain that water, a canal, it was a hard water, would leak, go out through the bed and banks and frequent maintenance. And as the industries developed around the canal, cord or water was diverted to water power mills, factories, and the need for water grew as the canal got heavier and wider. Here's an interesting article saying the Niagara Escarpment was the last major challenge seeking the engineers and was how to get the canal to the top of the Niagara Falls Escarpment, the rock ridge that produces the Niagara Falls. Poor was one of the lowest points on the original side. It was the best location for an order to lift the canal, 65 blocks required from the top of the escarpment. A 3-mile channel was blasted through solid limestone known as the Deep Cut. Before it was finished, 300,000 cubic yards of rock removed. And there's drawings and recreations of how they did this as the Erie Canal Museum. Some here in the way-like section of the building, looking at the barges in blues and whites and pinkishes, you see a salmon color. Believe it or not, there's windows. There's a man looking out a window. He's looking right at my waist and with a hand on his knee. And I don't know if I could get a better view into this album. Maybe you could be able to go inside and say this part of the museum. We have a recreation of a Manhattan Company Bank in partnership with Erie Canal. And his description of phenomenal income that deposited into these banks are some beautiful models painted by hand by Jim Dixon of a packet boat. Good news. And then of New York State Repair Skull. And here we are in the heritage part of the museum where you can hear some of Elizabeth Cotton's music. Elizabeth Cotton, you know, she became nationally famous for her contributions to American folk music and her style for playing the guitar upside down and left-handed. She's a lefty. She wrote songs like Freight Train Babe, No Lie, and Jumpin' Jack Elizabeth from Syracuse, New York, the pride of Syracuse New Yorkers who's played with groups from around the world. And I'm having to look here in the office, and when I look in one of the drawers here, in his home drawer, he has a Bible, and it looks like a bottle of whiskey. And he's going over some of the way logs. He's got his chest with his clothes from home, wood stove, and a checker coal-heated coffee. Leisure time was scarce in these buildings because it took 15 minutes away for a canal boat, and our process needed, like tenders were the gates. While the way master calculated the cargo, way suit was a busy job, so we always had coffee on time and to play a game of checkers. And then we have played Descending the Steps. You might even hear my feet. It's a step down to the Erie Canal Bridge at the end. And I'm sure it's from the head or the boat coming up the stairs here. Attaboy fishing off the roof of the canal barks. Or some of these steamer trunks, because this doesn't have a steam, but there's trunks on the roof. The canal boat barge and a couple of hooks, hook stuff. And looks like there's a rudder here, so maybe I'm in the back of the boat, yeah. Looked over the side, and in the back of the boat was the tiller, the rudder, and now I'm having the honor of walking down the stairs and inside the kitchen. I guess there's a wood stove. The table canal water and whiskey canals are seen in their future in a lot of fiction and nonfiction books, just taking a peek at the back of the bathrooms here, which went right into the canal. Which, that's not surprising at all, this wainscoting, because there's some beautiful decorations here. And one going into kitchen supplies. And now I'm heading into, I guess, the storage section of the canal. A lot of beautiful exhibits here. To see which came first, here's a question for you. How are the salt industry, other than for more than 20 years before the Erie Canal was constructed, salt was being produced by evaporating brine? The canal's low freight fees and enormous shipping capacity caused a boom in the industry. Syracuse, the great salt city, we know it was something and warms my heart. The canal's the stage for vaudeville shows, floating museums, missionaries, and circus performers. Wealth generated by the canal financed more refined entertainment as well as intellectual and spiritual pursuits. Opera houses, theaters, libraries, churches, rebuilt schools, including Syracuse University and the County Historical Society Station, were founded in Syracuse. And so held the first state fair in 1840 and still does every August. And here I am in the bunkhouse. The woman has her eyes closed and seems to be listening to music or relaxing. She gets some knitting in a basket in her lap. There's 3 tiny bunks, as you know. And now this Calablos traveled through the night while the passengers slept. Wooden canvas bunks were hung in the evening, and if the night was hot, some passengers would sleep on the floor rather than a stuffy upper berth. Well, sir, we get into a mustachioed man looking out the windows. He really looks like one of those performers you see that are doing the robot dance with a whistle. They give me, he's not moving. Hopefully he won't know I'm lucky enough to be standing in front of the canal boat time to dream. Passengers are free to pass the time as long as they wish, as they stayed on the cruiseway on the deck. They might read, watch the countryside go by, or hop off and stop and walk a few miles, or try their hand at fishing, as a boy I saw above. Does this boy, Donald Dio, any present at the museum in 1986, like, by the way, the Gilda's commemoration of the children, 1800s, and contributed to the growth of the United States. And then you'll hear I'm stepping off this lovely boat. Excuse me, boat, I didn't catch your name. I'm on the second floor of the museum here. We're going to some beautiful, beautiful exhibits. Syracuse Stage, the Guild Theater. We're backstage, and this gift was by the guild composed of volunteers who support the museum through programs and financial support. Syracuse thrived commercially. Its cultural life flourished. Important cargo ship to the Erie Canal was entertainment, as we said earlier, circuses, your troops and magicians for vaudevillians. Circus was a must-play city anyway, and Charles Dickens of Buffalo Bill Cody, the Waiting Opera House, the Bastable Theater, and many of the large local theaters destined for Broadway were previewed. And those are places like the electrical, light, and telephone were demonstrated to an excited and interested public. Sounds like a Kickstarter, as Landmark Theater is still on some wine street. One of the last great movie palaces was spent painstakingly restored its gilt and gesso interior. Showcases live performances. There's also the Mulroy Civic Center with 3 theaters and a building with offices and many other things in this exhibit here. The backstage exhibit from the Masonic Temple on Montgomery Street is also a recreation of the Farmer and Trader's General Store. If we don't have it, you don't need it. Stores were showcases for commodities and places where commerce and transportation would come together. During the 2003, 1800 had a wide variety of goods for road, rail, and canal transportation. Dry goods, medicine, meat, bread, milk, eggs. As Syracuse general stores evolved grocery stores and department stores and household goods and circuses for shopping districts. I grew up in Hanover Square, just a few steps away from the Erie Canal, but just taking a walk along the shelves, we see a couple of lanterns. Juncus slumped in stereo. One of those things where you'd look at the pictures and no clue is pretty accurate surf to stethoscope. And I believe there's a couple of boxes of soap and jar codfish cigars. Iron shoe is the elastic underwear. Children's shoes, fans, bolts of fabric. Spools, this red Jell-O, a creative Jell-O. Well, I didn't even know they had Jell-O back then. Shep's Coconut. I don't know what that is. It's used in first-class families, according to The Sun. James Bernard Ground Pepper. That's the best sales soda, national roasted coffee cake. Half the Royal Dutch Coffee, Rosebow Coffee, every so young and later be celebrated. It's Douglas's Gloss Starch Majoris Time Cooking Herbs Orphan Tobacco. Like he strikes Dr. Leanest as air, a powder, eye cases spraying and mint carbonundrum, or random cutting materials carbonundrum. That's one of the best things they were trying to get in. They have it or carbonundrum, and they use carbonundrum's Parker's charge. I need a box. Give me 2 boxes of that. Higgins Zinc assorted chalk crayons. Yeah, you know, sir, and you don't care. What's the price of a Packers Germans? Does it come with a warranty for me? Okay, thank you. Next door is a pottery shop where pottery has been hard at work with some small vases or vases. Oh boy, the tavern is here. Bar Latos Tavern registers. It's a national cash register. Beautiful registers about purchase. But I can keep moving. Syracuse Daily Journals open at the side of the bar with a fiddle and a painting of a really sailing ship. And let me end our day at the Erie Canal Museum. My day in Syracuse, New York. Thank you. And I want to say good night. This is where my dog is passing a petition by saying your nights and agree with you in that statement. We should get more broccoli. So I guess she is just trying to give you the right amount of broccoli, you know. Go and whatever. Go when you think everyone is saying this. In Twitter, Joanna Molly Jelly, there's Gareth's journalist and AM Caroline Bed Kitty and a 4x4 Amy's. Patrick, do we use the L to the AM to the C? That's old semi-bolted. Has the married you? Nadine, you see her whole life. Thank you, everybody, for signing this. Good night, Fairby. Assigned to DeVerco Stacy Go-Go with Spread Fair Day. And really supportive of Coach Brackley, says, Bradford is old, Chris. UC, which is, I think, you, Kate T, Kim H. Tiffany Foe, active in Fern Girl. When all the Broadway, world-famous Broadway and Danforth received a better show. There's a cool YouTube animation, a dance show, Kiki versus Everyone. Phoenix, Sunrise, everybody, Jane, thank you. Kowar, really got a bit of overbore. And, of course, the Laris team, the Moore, Brackley, Rico, Caroline with Gavin, and then the lady, which breeds Gerardo. They run a robo-corn brewery. Wacko really did good. Lars the dude who thinks dogs should get more broccoli. Jace is still said Jennifer with a C, David A. Wow, she was done well, Gina Key. All divine and best we have. Where to be like Babs arrowed for Mrs. Paw Prince. Bad cast on One Rainy Wish when you're really going well disco, as well in school or our old friend Scaturo. It's me, you know. Surely. Divine or Devon. Both scientists believe in Mary or J. Carey or good old Kotex. Kim C. Amanda, Reed recommended the world-famous Kim C. Lovely. Me and our go-get we all are. For Jack, referable. We are a friend of old the Tonys. Vanessa, Reed, the Land of Rose, and IG. May she soar. And Casian, dystopian to the K. The last two Petra Bakery H's. W.U. Homer, Howman, Kelly, Ellis, and so on. So good night, everybody, from Scooter and I. And, maybe you'll hear other versions of this. I don't really know. I don't know what he's got planned. But who knows? Good night and good night, everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody who supported the show recently on Patreon. Liz, Marge, and Margot, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Derek, John, and Daly, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Jen, Alexander, and Mike, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Nicole, Allie, and Peggy, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Layla, Laura, and Marcia, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Asman, Carolyn, and Sharon, thank you. Thanks, and good night. And Gary, Patty, and Steven, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Thanks everybody who supports the show directly. That's how it exists as a free podcast and come out twice a week as people that support the show on Patreon or support our sponsors. And the ways we grow this podcast is by people just sharing their natural experience with the podcast, letting people know about it. Huge way to support the show as well. I really appreciate that. Thanks, and good night, everybody. And here's a Tuck You In sponsor, or Scoots asking for something. Thanks. Hey, but Scoots, before I tuck you in, we're having a sale, and I'll tuck you in with our sale. You could get 20% off Sleep With Me Plus for the next 3 months if you've been on the fence and you want to support the show, but it make a big difference for me. I know 20% off is like my sweet spot. If you want to support the show and save money, you could do that. It's right now through the end of the year. Right on our site. Just use sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. We're having a sale, 20% off the next 3 months. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks.